And welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back in with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Let's Talk Arsenal series, our twice weekly show on a Tuesday and a Friday. And today's Friday show is, of course, our Q&A and our phone-in show. We're joined by a plethora of Arsenal fans today to give their thoughts and feelings about Arsenal's transfer window so far. And it is very nice that some news drops almost immediately before we drop our live shows so that we can discuss it. And I'd imagine it's going to take up quite a bit of our show today. And that, of course, does concern William Saliba. The French centre-back, very much so. He's a man who divides opinion and causes quite a lot of news to talk about. And so, therefore, it is imperative that we cover that topic. And it does look today, it seems anyway, that he is very much going to be a player that is involved in pre-season, which is good. I mean, that's the feeling I'm getting from this. Of course, if you aren't aware, he has pulled out of the French Olympic squad, as have a number of other players as well. There's no specific reason that's been given. There's a number of reasons it could mean. Of course, one of those big reasons could be the fact that he's going to leave. He could be going off on loan. He could be getting a deal done. But just for me, when you look at this situation, I think this is very much a clear and simple indication that he's going to be at pre-season. He's going to come back. He's going to fight for his place. You look at some of the other players that have pulled out, like Camavinga, etc. I think this is a perfect moment for Arsenal, really, to kind of come in and deal with this situation as and what it is. And that is hopefully to try and keep him as happy as feasibly possible. Let's get some of your thoughts and feelings about this in the chat box. I'm sure that you are all, of course, tuned in to find out what everyone's got to say in the chat box. Thumbs up, says Mint in the chat. Show some love. If you could drop a like on the video, really, really would appreciate it, of course. And of course, I would try, honestly, the amount of, multitasking I have to do for this show is insane. That's why we're a little bit late to start, because I'm trying to sort out Instagram DMs, Twitter DMs, trying to get the amount of people on the show that I feasibly can. We've got different people at different times. We've got to send links at the right moments. It's going to be chaos, but hopefully we can put a good show for you guys together and get lots of thoughts on the current situation of the club. Iron Cub says we need him. This is talking about Saliba as well, with Gabriel going to the Olympics. And of course, him going to the Olympics means that he will be going through an extra period of recovery. We will have Pablo Mari, of course, but having that extra player in the defence is going to be really key to cover us should we need them. Matt G said, my head hurts with all of this Saliba back and forth that we just don't know what's going on with him. Andy, who's going to be hopefully joining us in a bit, says, if Saliba stays and gets a proper pre-season, do you think that we will need Ben White? I would hope that we would. I hope that there's scope that we can still go out and be ruthless in the market and bring in a centre-back that's going to have a big impact on the team. Doug says, went from buying White to now giving Saliba a chance. He's done it again. I mean, I don't think this necessarily has any impact on Ben White. I think that deal is still very much in the offing, and one that hopefully we'll see Arsenal complete very soon. So Hill says, Tom, would you love a bit of Ramos? Yeah, this is an interesting one. To be honest, I'll be shocked if he doesn't become a PSG player. I would really be shocked if he doesn't become a PSG player at this time. It's an easy name to link up. It's just an easy kind of one to bring forward. It would be one of the most shocking moves, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean just genuinely shocking moves if Sergio Ramos ended up at Arsenal. But you never know. We'll wait and see. Dan says maybe Saliba is not in the Olympic squad because Ben White is not coming, so he knows he's going to get a chance. I mean, that is obviously a theory that is being bandied around. For what we know and for what's being reported by everyone, it's that this has been edging ever closer to Ben White moving to Arsenal. So if it does mean that, I'll be disappointed because I really wanted to see Ben White at Arsenal. But we want to see Saliba playing too. Chris P joining in for one of the live shows. Only just replied to the Dean KSE comment. I mean, that was ages ago, so I definitely won't be able to find that. It's Chris, so apologies for that one. Dan says, could you see Ben White being a good CDM? I haven't seen enough of him personally to playing in that defensive mid role to kind of give you any kind of indication that I think he would be a good signing in that position. So I'm going to hold fire on giving you my view on that one. Stephen Foote says, hi, Tom. Question, do you think Saliba is going to play for us next season and put the numerous rumours to bed? Ultimately, the answer I have for you is quite simple, Stephen, and it's I don't know, because we have absolutely no idea whether or not he's going to be used. We have no idea whether or not Arteta is going to plan to use him. And so a lot can obviously happen between now and then, but we'll have to wait and see. Rampur says Saliba, Gabriel, Marie and White gives us a good group of centre-backs. Of course, Holding could still go. Like, we don't know whether or not Holding is going to be an Arsenal player next season. He might not be. And so therefore having Saliba in the group is going to be really key. Tier 1 ITK says Ramos can happen. Oh, well, if the ITK have said it, then obviously it's going to happen. Just what I will say is that I've seen a lot about the ITKs. I've seen a lot of you have been sending me some DMs about ITKs that we should be rating, of course, and I do appreciate all the DMs. They do bring some joy to the day. One of the key rules that we said to you guys when kind of judge whether or not someone is an ITK is if they react in a hostile way to people sending them questionable abuse, which I would never advocate, and you should never be sending anyone abuse whatsoever. But if there is people going, oh, people are calling me out for the information that I've got, that is one of the biggest signs that you can ever have for someone who doesn't actually have inside information. Because if they did have solid information, why would it bother them that people are saying that they don't know anything? Why would it bother them to say that they don't know anything? Because you know that what you're saying is going to come true. You know what you're saying is backed. You know that you're going to be proved right. So why would you react in a hostile way? That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. Tom Dave, Divesh. Maybe it's Portuguese, Tom. You'll have to let me know. Or it's just Dives. It could be just Dives, couldn't it? Tom Dives says, no, we're going to go with Divesh. I like the Portuguese pronunciation. Just when we got over Buendia, it's Groundhog Day again for Ben White. If we don't end up signing Ben White, I will be a little bit disappointed. I'm not going to lie. It really is a player that I wanted to see come to the Arsenal. Chris P, thank you so much for the donation, mate. He says, what do you think of picking up Ozil on a free? Chris, I know you're not serious, and yet your comment still hurts me. Greg says, according to Charles Watts today, Everton and Benitez have joined the race for Ben White and have already offered a higher sum possible to meeting Brighton's valuation of the player. And hopefully, fingers crossed, Arsenal don't allow them to go for that. So, it's a pain. It's a real pain if they end up getting the player, of course. It's Dives, like swimming. I thought it was. But, I mean, for the benefit of just being a little bit exotic, Tom, we're going to say it's Duvej, a Portuguese pronunciation. Anyway, let's bring in my first guest of the day, making his second appearance on the show. It's Dushyant. How you doing, mate? Are you well? Are you good?
Hey, everyone. Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you doing, Tom?
Yeah, very good. Thank you, mate. Very, very good. How's the channel going? Let's Talk Arsenal. Is it going well?
Yeah. Actually, video is coming right now. It's rendering right now because I can't do the live stuff. So it's right now rendering in my background. So yeah, awesome. That process is going. Yeah, it's awesome, about our incoming left back actually, Nuno Tavares. Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk a little bit about that. Let's not reveal too much of what you're going to talk about in your show. Of course.
Yeah.
Are you happy with that? Are you happy with the signing?
I think that he's quite young, but attacking wise, he's quite good. The most that I have seen from the analytics or the deep dives that you have been doing, and obviously other channels that have been doing as well. So attacking wise, he's quite good. He puts in decent crosses. He's quite. He can play as a wing back, as a left back, and he's actually quite tall. So that's quite an advantage for us. If let's say someone gets injured in the defense center back area, so he can cover that there as well. So that's a good point. And Tierney is quite short in height wise, so he can even play in the 3 at the back position. So that's a plus point for Tavares. So I think it's a good signing.
The Saliba situation, because obviously it's taking twists and turns constantly and we can't keep up with it. But he's not going off to the Olympics, which is, we assume is good news because it means he's going to be part of pre-season. But there is some saying that maybe it's because he's going to sort out a loan move or a permanent move away from the club. How do you feel about reacting to that news?
First of all, I'm very happy that I heard this news that he's in going to Olympics, because it's a good news for Arsenal. Because yesterday or day before yesterday, I think his agent was at the Emirates to held. So for the talks with Edu and all, so we don't know what happened with him actually. So that's a good thing, I think, in my opinion. They had talks about him, and maybe Edu said that he'll be getting that opportunity, so that's why he cancelled. So we don't know what's going to happen, but I think it's good news because I think he'll be getting chances for preseason to prove himself, for Arsenal, and hopefully, maybe getting chances in the first team as well.
I think it's going to be a massive deal, obviously, if Saliba does end up staying with Arsenal this season, being given a chance. It's clearly what the fans want to see happen. We want to see Saliba in the team. But if he does stay, who's missing out, Dushan? Do you see a Holding being sold? Do you see Ben White not happening? How do you think this affects Arsenal's centre-back business elsewhere?
I think Holding can be in some sort of trouble, if I'm being honest. I don't mind Holding. I think he's a good player, a good pro who's played quite a bit. We just bought him for 5 million or 2 million from Bolton. So quite a cheap deal, and we can now sell him for 20 to 30 million. So that's a good, profit for us.
I think it's a great bit of, I mean, if you think about the money that we can make from this situation. You cut out for a second. We thought we'd finish, but you hadn't. Sorry, keep going, mate. Keep going.
Yeah. So that's how all I'm saying that if we sell him, we can get quite a big amount of money for him and get that profit back. But let's see what happens, because Arsenal coaching staff and Arteta really rate Rob Holding, because as he's captained us also in the previous season, as you have seen. So I don't know what's going to really happen. Maybe they sell Pablo Mari, because Saliba can play as a left centre back mainly, as he has done it for Nice as well. Because so that's a very confusing thing I have in my mind, because I like Holding, because if you see his stats for the in-depth stats last season, he had a great season for Arsenal. So but his passing isn't that good, so that's why we are buying Ben White, because his passing ability is quite good. So yeah, let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens, mate. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show again, Dushan. Really appreciate your time this afternoon. Tell people where they can find you.
So everyone can find me on Let's Talk Arsenal on YouTube. My videos coming next, hopefully today or tomorrow. Let's see. And you can find me on Twitter at Dushyant.afc.
Yeah. Thank you, mate.
Dushyant really AFC, sorry.
There you go. That's fine. They'll find you. Have a good one, mate. Speak to you soon.
Wait a minute. Just wait a minute. I like to tell something regarding you. In India, we call everyone like yourself Tom Bade Bhaiya. It's like a respect kind of thing. It's
okay.
We Indians call respectfully to So it's my respect for you. So call you Tom Bade Bhaiya.
Well, you're giving me another word that I've now got to learn to pronounce. I'm trying to pronounce Tavares, and it's a hard enough job already. I'm going to have to get a list. I'm going to have to start writing these down. Thanks, mate. I really appreciate that. We'll see you soon.
Okay. See you guys.
Have a good one, mate. Have a good one. Massive thank you to Dushyant for joining us there. We're now joined by our next guest as well, making his debut today. It's Nitish. How you doing, mate? Are you well?
Fine. You're fine?
Yes, very good. Thank you. Very good. What are you making of this all Saliba situation?
Yeah, I mean, it's puzzling because he's done excellent in OG Nice. So I don't get why the rumors are coming out like he's going to leave. I think he should be given a chance. He should be given a fair chance at the first team.
Do you think that someone's going to have to miss out? Because obviously we've got Rob Holding, we've got Ben White maybe coming in, although the Everton situation, we're not sure how that's going to develop. Who misses out for you? Because he can play on the left. You could leave Gabriel or Marie out for him. Who's going to miss out to play Saliba?
I think it should be Holding. Yeah, I think Holding misses out.
Why Holding?
Holding misses out. I think if you see Mari, he's with experience, so you can count Mari as an experienced head. I think Holding can bring in some good transfer funds for us. He can go for 30-35 million English player. So I think Holding can be expensive. You can replace Holding. That's what I think.
Fair enough. What position on the pitch for you is your kind of main crux, the main area that you want to see Arsenal really strengthen in this summer?
Yeah, creative midfield, obviously. Previous season we had more players. That's a good question
We'll put you on the
because
spot
James
now.
Madison
I
is
need names. We love names, Arsenal fans.
yeah. Marcel Sabitzer looks like a deal, but I don't know how it can be completed. I don't know about that, but Sabitzer looks like a good one for me because he's experienced. He can maybe teach something for Smith-Rowe. Smith-Rowe can pick up something from Sabitzer. So I think Sabitzer is a good deal for me. I will
Yeah,
go for James Madison, but I think it's 80 million. So how are we?
yeah, really cheap amount of money for what you think about for him as a player. I think he's obviously he's a great name, Sabitzer. He would give you a lot of versatility, a lot of quality in what we need. But one of the positions that I'm a little bit worried about, Nitish, is right back. Like we've got obviously,
Yeah.
we've got three players there. We've got Bellerin, we've got Cedric, we've got Chambers. Bellerin looks like he's going, but I'd quite like us to upgrade in that position. Are you worried that we're not seeing more links with more right backs this summer so far?
Yeah, I'm worried, but right backs, I think there are a lot of dominoes to be fallen. There are right backs moving now. Inter Milan move their right back, so they would be in the market for right back like Hector Bellerin. So let's move. Let's wait for Hector to move. Then let's wait for what are the links are coming out because the links are quite positive for me because Zeki Chilik is a good player. Tyler Adams, I have no reservations on him. He's not that good on the ball, so let's see because we have to wait, right? We had the Thomas Partey links the last day of the window, so let's wait. That's what I would say.
So you're not stressed yet?
Not,
You're not worried?
Yeah. No, I'm not worried because last week of the window, we are still. If you're speaking the last week of the window, still no signings, then that's the time. But now, just chill. And the Euros is going to complete. Then let's think about the transfers in great detail.
I really appreciate you coming on, Nitish. You spoke really fantastically well for your debut. I'm sure it won't be the last time we see you. Do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah. I'm not really posting any content, so if you want, you can follow my Twitter, Nitish Kumar BJ. That's all.
There you go. Thank you so much, mate. I'm sure we'll see you again very soon.
Yeah, sure, mate. Thank you, mate. Take care.
Have a good one. No problem, mate. No problem at all. A massive thank you, Nitish. What a fantastic couple of debuts already. Let's get a couple of your comments before we go on to our next guest very quickly. Some bloke in the chat says, if White comes in, he becomes first choice for the right side of the central two. I think it makes up perfect sense that Saliba can be his backup. He can be eased into the team, maybe. I like the idea of Saliba being eased in. Sure, I think that putting a lot of pressure on him at the start could backfire. So we'll have to wait and see. Alan says, question is, who is what? No, dearie me, Alan. What are we on about? Dearie me. Matt G says, great guest so far, Tom. Thanks, Matt. Mark Bagradan, sorry, Mark, says, agreed, Tom. Need a right back on the level as KT. And now that's something obviously that Kevin Campbell spoke about on the show the other day, was making sure that we had someone that was as good as Kieran Tierney on the other side. Iron Cub says, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we do go to a three at the back. Would make more sense for Tavares as well. And I think there's obviously a lot to talk about in regards to the type of formation and the type of system that we're going to use based upon the players that we bring in. A topic that I'm going to discuss with my next guests. And another debutant is Andy from Michigan. How you doing, mate? Are you well? Are you good?
Good. How are you, Tom?
Yeah, very good, man. You joined us from, well, you said it was actually quite wet in Michigan the last few days or so.
It's been pretty rainy. It's been pretty rainy and warm. So
awesome, man. So talk to me about kind of the situation with the defense, because a lot of people have kind of theorizing about maybe we're going to go to a back three. We could be bringing Saliba in, White in. They've both played in back threes before. Is it a system that you'd like to see Arsenal use, or do you think sticking with the back four is the right decision?
I think that a back three worked for us in prior seasons, notably in the FA Cup final against Chelsea. The only problem with a back three would be who's going to be our right wing back. We could employ Saka there. We've seen him perform well as a wing back, but then we'd be not having him in his best position, which is up front. We could possibly do Chambers, and I think that would suit him, but I'd like to see us go after a stronger right back who can also play that right wing back role before we think about a back three, probably.
Yeah, I mean, the idea of back three is kind of something that's entertained by some and not others. I know that Drew Obviously, our regular is not a big fan of it, did not like seeing Germany play with that either, but some people are more open to it. Daniel Robert in the chat says, Tom, could you ask the next guest about the striker situation? So, I mean, Andy, talk to me about how you feel about the striking situation. Do you think that Lacazette and Aubameyang is enough, or do you want to see one of those two replaced this summer?
So I think that having both of them offers us two different styles to play with. Aubameyang, who likes to run in behind the defense, and Lacazette, who likes to set it up from the midfield and helping us set up play going forward. It really just depends. Based on Aubameyang's performance last season, it's pretty hard to say if we need someone else going forward, or if it's just that we're short on creative players going forward. I would like to see, one or the other replaced, probably Lacazette, because he's getting a little bit older, and bringing some fresh new blood to us going forward. The question would be then, who would we bring in? Because if we're already going to be spending so much money on, like, for instance, Ben White, and then if we're going to be sending Xhaka off, we're also going to need somebody in central mid, and then we're also wanting a creative mid, and I already addressed that we need a new right back. So it's difficult to know if we're going to have enough money to be spending on so many different players, and then it'll be a question of, we brought in so many players, are we going to have that same chemistry in the team, or are we going to have to develop that chemistry over the season? And I think that Arteta right now needs people that are going to come in and like make an immediate impact. He knows last season wasn't the best, and his career is going to be on the line this season, probably by winter. So I think he wants somebody that's going to make an immediate impact. And I think tampering with the forwards wouldn't be the best idea right now. I think we should get our midfield straightened out first.
How do you see Balogun then kind of being used this season? Do you see him actually being used, or do you see him maybe being sent out on loan this season?
I don't know. It really depends on what Arteta wants. Balogun would be pretty good, and I think he would add, again, more flexibility. And I think he would. The only question would be, is he going to come off and start, making an impact immediately? Like I said, like Arteta wants people that are going to make an impact immediately, or else I think he knows his job is on the line this season, and it's going to be, under threat even by winter, unfortunately. So
yeah,
Balogun would be a risk. We saw him take some risks with Nketiah last season, and so I could imagine him also employing Balogun this season, especially if we're behind in a game and it's come down to like the 80th minute.
Yeah, I think it's for me, Balogun's a player that needs to be put on as a substitute and be given those minutes integrated into the first team setup as much as feasibly possible. Thank you all so much, Andy, for tuning in today. It's been fantastic. I've been on great debut, really well spoken, and I'm sure we'll see you again very soon. Do you want to tell people where they can find you?
You can. I'm not really a social media person. I just wanted to come
Fair
on
play,
and talk.
mate. That's the right way to go about your life.
Yeah, nice to talk to you, Tom.
You too, mate. Absolute pleasure. I'm sure we'll see you again very soon. Have a good one, mate. Absolute pleasure to have Andy on. And, I mean, what great guests we've had so far. We've had Dushat Natish and now Andy too. We've got some more lined up to come on for you guys again very, very soon. Let's go through some of your questions. I think actually I've seen that a new member has joined up as well, which is absolutely fantastic. Sarvesh Karda, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly. Tell me off if I certainly haven't. Sarvesh, absolute pleasure to have you join the crew. And I'm sure you've already had people welcome you. You haven't seen. See, the welcoming wagon's already out. Our members are very good people. Always welcome with the new people to come in so far. Brilliant guests indeed, Dan. See, the support that we have here for the guests are fantastic. Matt G says, question, Tom, could you ask your next guest who their favourite Avenger is? I think you're in the wrong kind of Q&A show there, Matt, but if you're asking me, it's always Iron Man, so there you go. Sahil says, Tom, hypothetical question, will you sell Saliba if it enables you to get Ramos? Absolutely no. Hypothetically, realistically, whatever, absolutely no chance whatsoever. Kanav says, TGT, can I come on the next phone? Well, Kanav, all you need to do is send us a DM over at the Gooner Talk TV or on Instagram either, as long as you're over 18 years of age. You can send us that, or you can send us an email, which you can find the email on the channel in the settings section as well. Let's Talk Arsenal says, yes, I mean, you're going to have to tell me I pronounce it. You need to send me a DM with a phonetic pronunciation. You have no idea how the amount of times I ask people for phonetics. As a teacher, phonetics is always something that I've used time after time. When you have to read a register, and you don't want to get the names wrong, phonetics is your savior, trust me. Shree says, what do you think, or rather, what do you want to see in the attacking midfield? Quality, mate. I know that's a bit of a cop-out answer. Where do you get that quality? I mean, there are a lot of options out there. We did the show talking about the 10 possible alternatives to Buendia. We know that that is obviously a position that Arsenal need to spend a lot more money in. We will wait and see whether or not it actually comes to the fore. But that's a really going to be kind of a difficult thing to kind of bring to the team is a quality player, the right player, and whether or not they're like that £50 million signing or someone else, because 50 million quid on attacking midfielders is going to get you a certain amount. But if you really want the world-class transformative figures, you're looking upwards of 60, 70 million for your Grealish and your James Maddisons. That's the situation that we find ourselves in. Yeah, Chris P, Grealish, simple. And you say simple, but it's going to cost you a hell of a lot of money. Iron Cub says, who is our ideal central midfield signing and why is it Locatelli? Well, who is it? You've answered your own question, Iron Cub, and it is Locatelli because of the way that he tackles, the way that he intercepts, the defensive duels he gets involved in. Just he's a presence on the pitch. That's really important for Arsenal this season. Is a presence and someone that's alongside Partey that complements him really well. And I think that Locatelli could be that guy. Gunnar Millsy says, Tom, what are your thoughts on the link with Ben White to Everton? My thoughts are that it's worrying. Obviously, I'd like to see Arsenal go and get Ben White. I think it's a really fantastic player with a lot of potential and exactly the style of centre-back that we've needed. And to see Arsenal lose out again to another Premier League rival, a team like Everton that I'd put in that same bracket as Aston Villa that are trying to get into European places next season, to miss out on another player like that would be really damaging to Arsenal. So fingers crossed, anyway, that we can do it and get someone in. Let's have a look at what else you guys are saying in the chat before we get our next few guests on. Matt G says, might be unpopular, but I'd take Ramos in a heartbeat. I know he's off to PSG, so it's not going to happen. But if we could, he'd instantly be our best centre-back and shore up our backline. We've just got rid of David Luiz, of course, who was a player that got a hell of a lot of red cards. Now, if there's one thing you can get from Ramos, yes, quality, yes, experience, yes, leadership. But I just feel like we need to move away from the players that have got that big mistake in them. That's the big thing for me. If he says, if we lose out on White, I wouldn't really mind. And I know that a lot of people have said this as well, but I think you should mind. I really do. I think it's a position on the pitch that is going to be a bit of a problem at the moment. We're going to bring in my next guest now, making his debut on the show. It's Brandon. How you doing, mate? Are you good? Are you well?
What up, Tom? I'm finally here, dude.
Yes, and I mean, just a little bit of a glimpse behind the curtain, people. Brandon turned up for his show an hour early. That's commitment, Brandon. If you've ever seen it before.
I was super excited.
Good to have on the show, mate. What do you make of the whole kind of? I mean, we talked a lot about Saliba, we talked about kind of the midfield, but Ben White and his situation is obviously a bit of a pain for me because we've seen us miss out on Buendia already, and now Everton are coming in for Ben White. How do you feel about Arsenal maybe missing out on him?
You know, like it was one of those transfers where when it first popped up, the rumors popped up, and I was like, I don't really know if we need him. I don't really know if I want him. And then as soon as the Everton links popped up, I was like, okay, cool, I want him now. We need him. So
is it like when I'm trying to put this into a social situation? You know, when you're like, there's like when you were younger and you were at school and there's like a girl that you might fancy, but you're not really sure about it. And then suddenly your best mate starts fancying her and you're like, oh no, actually, it's almost like on Love Island. And I know that a lot of people are going to judge me for watching Love Island. I'll throw my hands up. I quite like it. I think it's a good, funny program. And you see, like, if someone's partnered up with someone and they're not really sure about them, and then another lad comes in and he's got his eyes on her and all of a sudden he now fancies her. And I think that's how a lot of Arsenal fans are going to see Ben White, is they're going to see this other team coming up for Ben White, and all of a sudden we really want it. Do you think that psychological aspect is going to affect the fan base with Ben White, do you think?
I think definitely, but I mean, at the same time, I do think that it would be a bit of a bummer if we did miss out on him because I think he's definitely an upgrade on Holding. I think Holding's done okay for us, but I think if we do want to push for top 4 and do something significant this coming season, we need someone like Ben White to come in. I'm stressed about Saliba though. I don't want Saliba to go out on another loan. I want to see what he can do. He looks exciting. His season in France on loan this past season looked really good. So, and we spent so much money on him. So,
Yeah, we did.
I'd like to see us going in with Ben White and Saliba on that right-hand side, definitely.
Let me ask you, Brandon, who's your number one kind of wanting signing of this summer? Who's the one player that's on your mind that you've seen us linked to realistically that you would really want to see us push for?
Realistically, I think. Well, I mean, I don't even know if it is realistic, but Madison. I mean, there were rumors about it, because I think we need that number 10 position filled, or just like that attacking creative midfield position filled. Because I was thinking about it the other day. About 6-7 years ago, we were so blessed in midfield. We had Wilshere, Ramsey, Ozil, Rosicky, Cazorla, and I look at our midfield now, and it's sad. It's really sad. So I think if we could get someone like Madison in, my dream is Grealish. I think he's awesome, but that's obviously not going to happen. But yeah, do you think we could get Madison? Do you think that's like a possibility?
I mean, if we step up the money, then yeah, of course, I think we can go and get Madison. But it's a question of whether or not we will step up the money to get him. And I'm not sure Arsenal are willing to spend 70+ million quid on a position where you see you've got players like Buendia that was going for 33 odd million. You've got players like Sabitzer that are going for 17 odd million quid. Why would you go out and spend that much? Go on.
Sorry. Sabitzer, I think if we can't get someone like Madison, we need to get someone like him, because he'd come in at what is he? What's the rumored price? Like 18,
like
20
million euros. It's really cheap, yeah.
And I watched what he did to Spurs. It was last season or the season before.
Yeah,
I was really impressed. So for a club like Arsenal, where we don't have the money that City, Chelsea, and United have, I think we should be looking at deals like that.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, Brandon, absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Cool.
I'm sure it won't be the last. Shout out your music, mate, because you're producing some brilliant stuff, man.
Thank you. Yeah. So I make music. I make hip hop music. And yeah, you can find me on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, whatever you use. It's brands.shaw, but it's just Brand Shaw. But yeah, the tag is brands.shaw.
Awesome, man. Absolute pleasure having you on. I'm sure we'll speak to you again very soon.
100%. Thanks so much, Tom. Have a good one,
no
bro.
worries, man. Have a good one, man. Absolute pleasure having Brandon on. Let's not waste any time and go straight into our next guest as well. I'm now joined by Arjit. How you doing, mate? Are you good? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thanks for allowing me to come here.
No problem at all. There's a little bit of a delay, so bear with me on this one. You may have heard me then talk to you about 3 seconds later. That's all good. How are you feeling about Arsenal's transfer window so far, Arjit?
Yeah, so if you had asked me this question maybe 2 weeks back, it would have been a bit negative answer. But now with Lokonga and Tavares close, it's okay. I mean, it's decent. Not too bad, not too great. So yeah, somewhere in between, I guess.
Who's the main one that's kind of stood out for you so far, this kind of window? Who's the main person that you really want to see Arsenal push for in the window?
Yeah, so there are two people, little bit realistic. So Locatelli and Sabitzer, two players are like, actually Sabitzer I've seen since last 2-3 years in Bundesliga. I like him. He is very versatile, and his work rate has improved in the last couple of years. And of course, his creativity and shooting is very good. I think he would be a very good addition. And also Locatelli is also a class player.
Yeah, no, go on. Sorry, I interrupted you there. Keep going.
Yeah, Locatelli is also a very good player. I mean, I hadn't seen him in Sassuolo, so I don't know. So is he like more of a deep lying playmaker, or because in Euros he seemed to play a bit of a box-to-box role, because some of the goals he scored, they were like the kind of goals were like similar to a box-to-box player. So
yeah, I mean, he's a player that can play like box-to-box or play as kind of your number 6. He can kind of play both roles and wherever. But he's not. I wouldn't describe as a goal-scoring midfielder. He's not like your your players that like a Joe Willett that will drive into the box and get goals from midfield. He just kind of will pop up on the edge of the box like Xhaka does now and again. Kind of that sort of player. Are you there, Arjit? Have we lost you?
Yeah, I'm there.
He's there. Okay. Last
I'm
question, Arjit, before we move on to our next guest, because we need to move on to our next group of callers. If there's one player besides Locatelli that you're going to go for this summer, who's it going to be, mate?
Yeah, Sabitzer or Madison. Although Madison, as even the last caller said, it's a bit difficult. So either of those two, it will be great.
Awesome, man. Absolute pleasure having you on the show, mate. Absolute pleasure. I'm sure we'll have you back on again soon. Shout out where the people can find you on the socials if you want to.
Yeah, I am on Instagram at AJARAY007. AJARAY007.
Awesome, man. We'll speak to you again very soon, mate. Have a good one.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Continue good work.
Thank you, mate. Really appreciate that. Let's bring in our next guest and talk to Par. How you doing, Par? Are you good, mate? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm good. It's Friday, finished work. I'm happy, man.
I've missed your voice, bro. it's just so dulcet tones. Just go straight through it. How are you feeling though about the window so far? There's a lot happening in these last couple of weeks or so of the Euros. It's surprising because I didn't think there'd be this much kind of going on while the Euros are happening. So are you surprised at the kind of the activity regarding, we've got Tavares going on, we've got Lokonga going on, Ben White could be getting done depending on what happens with Everton, of course. How are you feeling about things?
Well, I think the reason why there's been so many early signings is because of the pandemic last year. So I think that's why this year we see teams are starting to get money. They want to do their early signings, and the transfer windows out in Europe has now opened. And there are some gems to get, so you don't want to fall behind.
No, definitely. So we look at kind of the midfield positions. We've talked about Locatelli and we talked about the positions, but the Xhaka situation is an interesting one. He's had an amazing European Championship, played really, really well, and yet that price for him is still looking like an exceptionally low figure. Are you frustrated that Arsenal aren't maybe able to get a little bit more money than we should really be getting for him?
Well, I think with Granit Xhaka, you have to look at the whole picture. I'm someone who's usually quite critical at Arsenal not getting enough money for transfers. But with Xhaka, with the fallout with the fans, he's been very vocal that he wants to leave. Everybody knows that he wants to leave. Everybody knows with his toxic relationship with the Arsenal fans, all of that has an impact on his price. And I think that's the main reason why it's so low. If it was in a situation where Xhaka was loved by the fans, we were praising him, he had a good relationship, didn't have that fallout, we would probably see maybe 30 million or 25 at least, because he is in his prime age and he has, I think, 2 years left.
Yes, he has 2 years left on his deal, yeah.
So I think that's the main reason,
it's frustrating, isn't it? Because obviously we've seen so many players leave Arsenal for barely anything, and some we've had to pay to leave the club.
Yeah.
Sokratis and Mustafi and Ozil too. Speaking of that, obviously we saw yesterday was the last day on which we were owing money to Mesut Ozil, and that's now paid off. Do you think that the club's going to learn from that? Do you think the club's going to look at that situation and go, right, we can't let ourselves get into this situation again with big contracts? We've got Aubameyang at the club also on a really big deal. Do you think they're going to learn, or do you think it's just going to be a case of if a situation comes forward again, they're just going to sign them up to another big contract?
Well, I hope that they will learn, but then again, if you look at Thomas Partey, I think he increased his salary 5 times. I think he's on like 260k, which is a lot for a player that is not your offensive star man. He's not like a number 10 or a big brand name that will sell you millions and millions of shirts. And then you have the Lacazette situation. Will they renew his contract? Will they not? But other than that, I'm happy with the renewals that we've done lately, with Tierney, with Saka, the one with Smith Rowe, Martinelli. So I feel like, and I hope that we are learning, but then you have the William from last year. So it's hard with Arsenal. You can never see like, this is where we're heading straight.
Is there anyone at the club that's not being linked with a move away that worries you, that's not being linked with a move away at the moment?
I would say yes and no. For me, I'm a bit worried with Bellerin.
Okay.
Because I'm not sure if teams can afford his wages. And I think in his mind, he wants to go I think he's been wanting to go for probably since Arteta came, but because of their relationship, he was ready to stay. But I think he wants a new adventure, and I think the majority of us wants someone new there. But if no one can afford his salary, he will be stuck there because we're not ready to loan him out, and that's a bit of a worry for me. And like I said as well, he only has 1 year left. I don't see any heavy links with him leaving.
Yeah, those two are definitely players that, I mean, Bellerin in particular, we expect to go. And I feel like the reason why we're not seeing many links with incoming right backs is because Bellerin is, of course, still here. And until we move him on, we're probably not going to see those links kind of arise. Lacazette is another. And then there's Willian, who you already touched upon in the way that we brought him in. Deal to Inter Miami supposedly fell through, so that's also a little bit worrying. Anyway, Pat, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, fella, and I'm sure we'll have you back on again very soon. Do you want to give yourselves a shout out on the socials?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, King Drame, and you can find me on SVidly TV. It's a charity channel, and big up Tom for
What work does it do, man? Talk to me about the charity, man.
So it's an Arsenal channel. The guy who owns it, he had a liver problem. He had like 6 or 7 liver transfers, and he loves Arsenal, and all the money that the channel raises goes to liver awareness, to medical treatment, to charity. So it's a really good channel, and
amazing, man.
He would love to have something to do with you. I know he's talked about you before.
Oh man, get him to DM me. And also, if you send me a link to the channel, I'll put it in the description so people can check it out. Amazing, man. Send me a link to that. No problem at all, fella. I'm sure we'll see you back soon. No problem, man.
100%.
Yeah, no worries, bro. We'll have you back on very soon. Have a good one. See you later.
Yeah, you too. Take care.
See you later, man. Have a good one. Let's bring our next guest on. It's Noel. He's looking around his room right now. I've scared him. I shouldn't have done that to you, Noel. I'm sorry. I brought you in completely unaware. How you doing, mate? You good?
No, you're good, man. I'm all right, man. I'm all right.
Good, bro. Really good to meet you. It's been a while since we last spoke. You were on our first phone-in show that we did a while back. Spontaneous show that we did. How's things been regarding kind of your view of the transfer window since then? We talked about a lot of stuff back then. A lot's happened. How's your feeling about the window so far?
Personally, it's been up to expectation for me. I didn't really think we'd be able to sign anybody up until now, but I've been pretty happy with the links or the transfers that we seemingly have almost finished up. I'm pretty excited about Lokonga. I didn't know anything about him, but he looks pretty exciting. Really, the type of profile of midfielder that I think we need at the club. And Tavares as a backup. There are a few backups that, you know, it's a little bit jumping on the bandwagon, but I've seen a couple of guys at the Euros that I really like Mela, I think is how you pronounce his name, from Atalanta. The Danish left back or right back.
I think. I mean, Mela. I mean, you don't ask me to pronounce names correctly. Right. Yeah, no, the Danish guy. Yeah, he looks like he can play on either side, can't he? So
exactly.
He's a really good backup. Yeah.
Right. So, but anyways, I'm okay with the backup, and a lot of the players we've been linked with, I really like the profiles, which is not something I usually would say about how we our player ID. It's normally not that on point from Locatelli, guys like that. So. Pretty excited so far.
Yeah, I mean, Adam in the chat says Arsenal are still moving like snails. We are still waiting for Arsenal to kind of get a deal done. It is the 2nd of July, which is the end of the second day of the continental window being open. Do you think people are overreacting a little bit, or do you think they've got a right to be frustrated that nothing's happened so far?
I think absolutely. I think we're overreacting. Like, I understand that we're eager to see change and for us to address the issues. And I mean, I'm not in the football world, but I imagine these things are hard to complete without a pandemic and without like several international tournaments going on over the course of the summer anyways. And the window has only been open, like you said, a little while. So, you know, I feel like if you were to compare where we're at now, as far as us actually making a handful of bids for players, you know, trying to complete deals and with all the outgoings going on, I think we've been pretty active. I know we haven't seen anybody in the shirt, but we have it from reliable sources that a lot of deals are on the verge of being completed. So, yeah, I think we're definitely overreacting here as a fan base.
How do you feel about those two? Because it's two in particular that seem to be that are very close. We've got Nuno Tavares from Benfica, and we've got Sambi Lokonga from Anderlecht. Those two look like they're going to be the first ones. How do you feel about those two?
Again, on Tavares, backup, young age. I wouldn't have personally minded a Bertrand. I know he's
Yeah.
like on above 30. I know we do too many of those, but sometimes
We've
I
never
feel
learned.
yeah, we don't. Well, the thing is, there's a time and a place for that. We have to
Sure.
address a lot of positions. It looks like our budget is actually more than I would have expected. But Tavares cheap, that's all right. Looks like he has a lot of room to grow. Definitely not the finished product from a lot of this stuff I'm reading. Lokonga, like I said, really excited about him. He looks really good to me from a lot of the stuff that I've seen. Young age again, relatively cheap. About a 15 million or so punt on a player like that. Somebody who can definitely grow. Really highly regarded in the Belgian setup as well in the national team. And Ben White. I am very much on board the Ben White train. I really enjoyed watching this guy play. I saw a little bit of him for Leeds because I liked following Brentford in the championship. He was amazing there. Amazing. I thought he was pretty good at Brighton. And I also think the price reaction for like how much he's worth was overblown from like the fan base. 45 mil for a player like that seems to be the going rate for a young English center back, especially one that has the ball carrying, progressive skills that he does. Wan-Bissaka went for 50 million. Not too many people batted an eye for that, but for somebody who's going to settle your defense for 5+ years, I think that Ake went for 40 as well or something like that. So I'm really excited about him as well. We've been kind of hitting it out of the park, in my opinion, as far as who we've been linked with. Very rare to say. I'm here for the criticism.
It's just, no, man, bring it on. I mean, it's just a case of actions speak louder than words to me. Like, it's great seeing these links. It's now we've got to get those deals done. And that's going to be the defining moment for our summer, is that it's all a lot of words. And I'm like you, mate. I really am in regards to kind of the anticipation. And I like what I'm hearing. It's just a case of now getting these deals done. And no, it's been an absolute pleasure to have on the show again. Please give yourself a shout out for the socials.
I'm on Twitter if you care to read half-baked opinions about football or Arsenal. It's OL 2_ Noel, I believe, or just type in Noel, you'll find me somewhere. And it's been a pleasure being on, man. Appreciate it. Hopefully next time.
Can't wait to have you back again soon, bro.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
Have a good one. See you later, man. Let's bring our next guest in. We're also now joined by Yor. How you doing, mate? Are you good? Joining us all the way from Ghana. How you doing?
Hey, Tom, I'm all right.
Oh man, I was introduced to you about an hour ago, and I said to him, I was like, again, your voice just goes through me. I just love the dulcet tones. They're just how are you, mate? Are you good?
I'm all right. Friday, thank God it's Friday. So
tough week.
Yeah, long week actually.
Yeah, I feel you, man.
So looking forward to that as well.
How are you feeling about the transfer window, though, mate? Is there anything that's really standing out for you? Is there anything that's frustrating you? We're just speaking to Noel there. Noel seems very happy about the players that we're being linked with. Are you equally as happy, or are you a bit of apprehensive about everything that's going on?
I'll be honest. So far, links are good, but links, Arsenal does links. We've always done links. I mean, we've always done links. So links.
Oh, Villa, that's the one.
So when you hear the links, it's great, but as an Arsenal fan, you've been scarred so much, you just learn just to sort of tame yourself and to see how it actually goes. I'll be honest, I'm also thinking that this Noon Tavares, I think the name is.
Yes, don't ask me. I'm not the person to ask.
I like him as a player. I just really am concerned about what his off-pitch issues will be like. And I have to ask you a question, Tom. So,
go for it, bro.
When you think of culture, who determines culture? Is it the managers or the players?
It's a really good question, isn't it? Because you think that it would be the manager. You think the manager's the one that sets the stall out, sets the kind of the instructions for those players. But it's then down to the players as whether they buy into that. And I'll throw the question back to you. Do you think that Arteta is doing a good job in, say, dealing with situations like we saw with Guendouzi, a player that he feels is not the right player for the culture that he's trying to put in? Is it the right decision for him to then, say, send him out, exile him, move him out on loan? Do you think he's handled that correctly?
100%, 100%. I used to coach a basketball team many years ago.
Yeah.
And one thing I learned is that there have to be non-negotiables. I hate to use the term he uses, but it's the truth. There have to be things that are unacceptable, and everyone knows it. And in this case, Guendouzi, he knew what he did. And what I find sad about him is that there was that pride that said, I'm not going to apologize, I'm not going to make amends. And that kind of behavior, unacceptable. not the kind of thing we're trying to create at Arsenal. So yeah, definitely that was the right move. Now, as to the ways he's handled other issues, that I have my questions, but I do appreciate the fact that he's trying to create the right culture at Arsenal.
Now, in the chat, Pa, who just joined us, actually, has got a question. Seeing as you are joining us from Ghana, he wants to know what your thoughts are and expectations for Thomas Partey this season.
I think Arsenal fans should be really excited about Thomas this season. Why? Because if you watch his games last season, I watched all the games last season, you realize that he was still a bit unsure of himself. So he would try to express, but then he was always deferring sort of like to the other players, because there was still that feeling of, I just joined the team. I don't really have much of a say on the pitch. Come this season, I think he's going to feel more comfortable in his role. I think Arteta is going to trust him a bit more. And with Xhaka gone, he's going to take control of that midfield. And you're going to see a lot of good things from him, actually.
Yeah, I really hope you're right. And I mean, the amount of shows that I did leading up to his signing, I was desperate for him to come in, and now he has. And obviously he faced those injury issues, which was a right pain because I really wanted to see him. And now obviously he was really in the team second half of the season. Look what happened to the form. The form was brilliant. So fingers crossed we can see Thomas Partey. And he's number 5 now as well. He's changed his number, which is...
You love that number. And I have a question for you, Tom. So still on the mentality issue. I know you're not too crazy about Aouar because of that same issue.
Yeah.
Do you think that if he came into an Arsenal team with the right mindset, he could actually be changed to play more in a sort of protagonist role in the team?
Look, man, you know me. I'm always open to having my mind changed about anyone. And I think that the thing with Aouar is that whilst, yes, he's had his issues at Lyon and that kind of mentality about how he steps his performances up, whether or not his team are playing well, whether or not. The big question is if a player moves anywhere, of course, they can take on the characteristics of those around them. And if it's a positive characteristic, then great. The thing is, though, is that it's Arsenal. So that's the problem. We always say that Arsenal have had a mentality issue. We've said that for years and years. And is Arsenal going to be a side that Aouar comes into and has that mindset change? I mean, are you confident that Arsenal would be the right place for him to have his mentality changed anyway?
I think we are starting to get there. I mean, you think of players like Kieran Tierney, you think of players like Saka, you think of ESR. He's not very vocal on the pitch, but you do see that he wants things to happen and he's not happy when things are not going right. Now, he's not been in the team long enough. I'm talking about Smith Rowe. He's not been in the team long enough to actually say something, but you can tell that he wants things to happen. And sometimes that's all you can do as a young player. You sort of try and lead by example. So I think we have the beginnings of that kind of culture. I think a few more players who have that kind of mindset will be a big plus. So actually, when I think of the transfer window, I hear of Lokonga and I love it because when Sasha was on, he was talking about how he listens to Michael Jordan and he's reading the books. And I'm like, yeah, I want a Michael Jordan mentality on Arsenal because that's the kind of guy who wants to win no matter what. And actually, I'm thinking that if you're going to get more of such players, then actually Aouar could fit in and actually take on that kind of mentality as well.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think when you think about needing these kind of young leaders, he's been a captain at Anderlecht as well under Vincent Kompany, who massively rates him. And I mean, if there's a character that knows how to be a leader, it's Vincent Kompany. So if he's identified Lokonga as kind of that guy, then that's obviously a massive plus for us. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on, mate. It's really genuinely always is a pleasure to speak to you in the last hour that I have done. But I'm sure we'll have you back on very soon, bro.
Definitely, Tom. Definitely.
Have a good one, mate. Absolutely. Oh, sorry. Do you want to give your socials a shout out? I always forget that bit.
You can find me on Twitter at Yao ASAGU, Yao Asedu. Not much on Instagram or YouTube, so mostly on Twitter for me.
Awesome, man. Absolute pleasure. We'll speak to you very soon, mate.
All right. Cheers, sir.
Have a good one, fella. What a show we've had for you guys today. So honestly, I say this every time, but it really stuns me the quality of guests that we get to come on here and have a chat. It's fantastic seeing their thoughts and their views and their feelings. If you've seen that and you think that you can cut your mustard on the show, that's a very British saying, isn't it? Then you'd like to obviously come on the show and have your thoughts and feelings heard. Check out the information that's rolling across the bottom of your screen that has been throughout the entirety of the show. If you're over 18 years of age and you'd like to come on the show and have a chat about transfers every single Friday, dependent on when the Euro games are, usually at 5 p.m. But of course, we've done it at 4 p.m. today because there is a 5 p.m. game. Then make sure you check that out. I'm going to have to wrap things up now. But it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you guys. As always, please drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here with those notifications turned on so you never miss a show. And if you would like to help join up as a member as well, we would really appreciate it. We'd have a few members join up during the channel, and I'll make sure to send a link out for our Discord server to the community tab on the YouTube homepage too. We'll see you again very soon, guys. And as always, up the Arsenal.